So let's talk grapplers. A little just story tangent to start this off. A while ago, when kind of like closer to like when I was first getting into Plus R, we were doing our like usual lobbies with my friend group. One of them was playing like Johnny, one of them was playing Eddie, but really overall like jumping around a lot of characters. We were having a good time. I was playing Faust at this time, and one of them decided to pick Potemkin, and we were all kind of just like messing around with a bunch of characters anyways, so eventually just led into a bunch of Potemkin mirror matches. We all didn't know anything about this character, so we were essentially just reading off Dustloop while we were playing, and obviously, you know, the first thing we look for is how do we do a pop buster, because that's like, you know, his entire thing, or at least, you know, as a uninformed player, that seems like his entire thing is trying to land pop busters. And we quickly, you know, found out the input and everything, and I knew some previous like grappler stuff, like, oh, you should condition the opponent, you should force them to make bad mistakes. I never really tried anything like that before. So as we were playing, I kind of just like put together like a decent like string of normals, and I was like, oh, this is like, it's just like 2K into 2D, gets a knockdown, and then I can loop it and then try to do stuff on knockdown. And so I started doing that. I just started looping normals, and I was like, okay, so is this like what conditioning is? I don't know. So eventually I was like, okay, I think they're used to me just throwing out 2K every time they try to wake up. Maybe now that I see they're blocking it, I should just throw out the pop buster. And I've never done the input before. It's like a quarter circle back forward. Those are really common input with Arxis games. And to my surprise, the pop buster came out, and as Potemkin grabs the other Potemkin, raises them up way up in the air and comes crashing down, I was like, holy crap, grapplers are kind of sick. Before we talk more about grapplers, just doing a quick shout out to my Discord server. We got Net Play Roll, just a good community, positive community to hang out with. Go check it out. But let's keep talking about grapplers. So first, when you see a grappler, they are typically, you know, just these big hulking characters that are really intimidating, but like once you start getting your grasp on whatever game you're in, they typically have like a lot of weaknesses. They are, as I said, just big and bulky, so that results in them ending up being like very slow. If you look at Potemkin, he doesn't have an air dash, he has a slow walk speed. It takes a while for them to get in. And if you're playing a grappler and you're fighting like a zoner, it can feel impossible. But there are some tricks. You really, like, a grappler player does have some... Well, first of all, they just have patience of a god, first and foremost. But sometimes there's stuff like armor and like ways to like negate projectiles and stuff like that. So they can like inch their way in, but when they get in, if you are unfamiliar with grapplers as an archetype, they have access to something called a command throw. Throws overall are like a universal thing in most fighting games, and if you throw someone and they input a throw input as well, this can result in a throw tech. Typically, you will bounce off each other or almost like return to like neutral. Some games, you know, it's more positive or negative, but most of the time you just return to neutral. Grapplers are typically built around something called a command throw. Command throws are not techable, so that results in your opponent having to jump out of it. So let's say a grappler knocks you down, you're in your get up animation. They essentially have two options. They can think you're going to jump, so they hit you with some stuff to bring you back down. Or you can block in anticipation of them trying to anticipate you jumping, and then if you do, they have an opportunity to command grab you. There are some, you know, caveats. There's some advanced tech or some stuff that's all game specific, but a core grappler game plan is get in, 50-50 you. And this is where something called conditioning comes in to great effects. Conditioning is essentially you just continually do something for your opponent to eventually try to like mess up, or they anticipate something. And sometimes conditioning comes with like the negative effects of, yeah, I'm purposely trying to be predictable to get you to mess up. And as like a new player, like trying to grasp and get conditioning, it definitely felt like it had to be like a longer process. But no, you can condition your opponent with like 2 knockdowns. Because I mean, let's face it, you hit them with the same thing twice. Typically, that's going to be like the top thing on, you know, like their mental stack is, oh, I just got hit by a low on my wake up twice trying to press a button or something, or like an anti-air trying to jump out. So I'm not gonna fall for that trap again. I'm just gonna block and then whiff punish, and then that's kind of like when a grappler will like smell blood in the water. Like, okay, they are finally, like, a good grappler player will feel like this stuff out. And as soon as they block, pop buster, and you do big old damage. Something like I never hear people talk about is like when you're fighting a grappler and they finally land that command grab, your heart is just never ready to see that big red part of your health bar that represents all the life you just lost. It's so painful to see. But I think grapplers, they've run into like a really interesting aspect of just like fighting games, or just maybe esports in general, because I think fighting games position themselves in a really unique space in the esports scene. There's not like a lot of randomness, you know. When you boot up a fighting game, you know what to expect, and things like Faust item toss are just, they're part of the game, they're part of his kit. It doesn't feel like too bad, like if you were to like get hit with like meteors, like it's just Faust playing this game, and he plays around that type of stuff. But for the most part, when you boot into a fighting game, you know what you're expecting, and there's no teammates, there's no random BS happening. Like, it's really just one-on-one conversation with your opponent. And I think grapplers really excel with this, because essentially grapplers are trying to instill a fear that you've never experienced before. They are trying to get in your face and force you to make bad mistakes. And there's something just so interesting and rewarding about it. And I just love it. I still play a lot of Faust, and I do want to learn more Potemkin, and this is like the main reason. It's just like the dopamine like my entire body gets when I get in with Potemkin and I start landing pop busters. I'm working on like some heat knuckle combos where he like grabs people out of the air, or even landing like a heavenly pop buster. That's the one where he jumps into the air and does massive damage. Getting a read with heavenly pop buster feels so good. It's just like the grapplers in general have like a really simple game plan. You know, it's just get in, grab them, get in, anti-air them. And there's something about it that just appeals to me so much, because they're so momentum based, and like when you know you're in your opponent's head, it feels so good. The grappler gameplay loop has a stranglehold on my heart. I am not going to lie. It is so much fun. But yeah, I think that's like the overall appeal of grapplers, is that intimate one-on-one, instilling fear, and then as soon as they fall into your traps, it just, I love it so much. But let me know, do you think grapplers are cool? Do you think they're annoying? They definitely have a lot of downsides. You know, playing a grappler into a zoner does not feel good. But that gameplay loop is, it's so addictive. Let me know in the comments below what your opinion on grapplers are. Do you think they're cool? Do you think they're annoying? As always, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. As always, keep pressing buttons and have a good rest of your day.